Let's talk about percentages and what they are and how we work with them. So percent simply means per 100. So the word centum is a Latin word for 100. So per cent means per 100. So here's an example. I've taken a 10 by 10 grid, which gives me 100 squares. If I was to colour in one of those, I've coloured in 1%, 1 out of the 100. I could write that as a fraction, 1/100th, okay, because that's what I've coloured in, 1 out of 100. If I was to put 1 divided by 100 into my calculator, because that's what a fraction is, remember the numerator divided by the denominator, I'd get an answer of 0.01. So the important thing is that these all are the same thing. 1% written as a percentage, 1% written as a fraction, and 1% written as a decimal. And we're going to need to be able to do this when we come to using percentages shortly. Okay, here I've coloured in 20 out of the 100 boxes. So I've coloured in 20%. If I was to write that as a fraction, I've coloured in 20 out of 100 boxes, 20 hundredths. Now I can simplify that fraction. Okay, so if I find a highest common factor, which is 20 because it fits into 20 and it fits into 100, I get a simplified fraction of 1/5. Or I could write that as 0.2 because 20 divided by 100, if I pop that in my calculator, gives me 0.2. So they are the same thing. So importantly, we need to be able to convert between fractions, percentages, and decimals. So if I'm given a percentage and I want to write it as a fraction, easy to do, I just simply divide it by 100. So I could just write 20% equals 20 divided by 100, or 20 over 100. Simplify that if I can. Okay, and this simplifies, we just saw a little bit earlier, down to 1/5. What about doing a percentage to a decimal? When we divide by 100, we're actually just simply moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. So we take our 20%, there's a decimal hidden in there right after the 20. We move that 2 places to the left and we get 0.2. So 20% written as a decimal is 0.2. Here's another example. What if you had 5%? Right, there's a decimal point after the 5. Let's put a couple of leading zeros in front so we've got something to work with, because we need to move that, like we said, 2 places to the left. And I end up with 0.05. So 5% written as a decimal is 0.05. What about a fraction or a decimal to a percentage? We simply multiply it by 100. So if we're changing a decimal or a fraction and we want to turn it into a percentage, just multiply it by 100. Nice and easy. So if I had 4/5 times it by 100, I get 400 over 5, which is 80 or 80%. What about if I had a decimal, 0.37, and I wanted to write that as a percentage? Well, when we multiply by 100, we move the decimal point 2 places to the right because it's the opposite of dividing. So that gives me 37%. We can use this now to find the percentage of an amount, and this is a really important skill you're going to have to be able to be comfortable with. Turning a percentage into a decimal, okay, because we want to find 17% of 820. The first step is we take the percentage and we write it as a decimal. So 17% written as a decimal. I move the decimal place 2 to the left. Okay, take it from there to there. I get 0.17. I have to work with this as a decimal because the next step says take that decimal and just multiply it by our amount. So our amount was 820 multiplied by 0.17 gives me an answer of 139.4. So 17% of $820 is $139.40. Last little bit of info is just to think, what does 100% represent? So I've shaded all 100 boxes here, which is 100 out of 100. 100 divided by 100 is 1. So it's important for you to know that 100% of something can be represented as the integer or the value of 1. All right, that's our intro to percentages, what they are, and a little bit of a taster on how we work with them.